Hey everyone, welcome back to Anatomy. This week we're going to be going over some of the blood vessels that you need to know in the head and neck region. So let's start off maybe with this wire heart first, because these structures are easier to see here than they are on Vinny. So right here, to help orient ourselves, this big red one is going to be the aorta, and this is its arch. And we have three blood vessels that come off the top of the arch. The first one is the brachiocephalic trunk. The next one is the left common carotid. And then lastly, we have the left subclavian artery. So if we look at this if we look at this brachiocephalic trunk, we can see that it branches into two more arteries that are on your list to know for this week. This one right here is the right common carotid artery, and this one is the right subclavian artery. So it's a little asymmetrical right here, and then after this point, everything looks a lot similar. So let's jump over to Vinny. So to help orient us again, this is the common carotid artery on the right side, and here's the common carotid artery on the left side. So let's follow blood flow on this side. So here's common carotid artery. It branches into two arteries that you need to know. This one right here is the external carotid artery, and thankfully its nomenclature lets you know to look for it externally. This will branch into two other arteries that are on your list. This first one right here is the facial artery, and it always heads towards your mustache, and that's how I try to find it when I'm on the models. The other branch that it does, and this one's going to go over your temporal bone, this is going to be the superficial temporal artery, and I think that one's really easy to find on the models once you find the temporal bone. Okay, so let's go back to this common carotid artery again, and now follow the blood flow internally. So here's that secondary branch. This is the internal carotid artery, and it's going to head this way and go through the carotid canal of the temporal bone. And as we can see, if I can get my hand in here, this is going to help contribute to the circle of Willis. So maybe you recognize some of these other arteries. This right here would be the basilar. Look for this over the pons or near the sella turcica region. The two arteries that merge to form the basilar, these are going to be the vertebrals. So they kind of look like if you can imagine the circle of Willis as being a stick figure, these are like the legs of the stick figure. And as we can see, if you can come down a little bit lower, this is the vertebral arteries, and look for them inside the transverse foramina of the cervical vertebra. All right, so that's arteries. Let's look at drainage. So for drainage, again, this one right here, this is the superficial temporal vein, and look for it over that temporal bone. And if we follow this one, we can see that it drains into the external jugular vein. That's this really skinny one right here, the external jugular vein. And this one right here, this is facial. And if we follow this one, facial will drain into the internal jugular vein. So here's internal jugular vein, external jugular vein, and then the one between them, this is vertebral vein. And then look for that in the models in the transverse foramina of the cervical vertebra. Okay, so that's blood flow for the head and neck region. Thanks for working hard in this class, and we'll see you again soon.